Tonight's episode of the 31st Lap Podcast is brought to you by DirtTrackDigest.com. If it's on dirt, it's on Dirt Track Digest.
This is the 31st Lap Podcast, recorded live in the studios of FingerLakes1.com in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now, your host, Chris Marquardt.
Very true. Joining us here in studio is Erik Karlsen. We're going to be catching up with him to talk with him a little bit about the 305 sprint cars. Glad you could make it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Congratulations again on the win. 2 in the last 3 over at Canandaigua Motorsports Park, and looking like there's some momentum coming back to the 305. So we're going to be getting into that here in a little bit. First things first, we're going to go through all the stuff from the Independence Day weekend. Once again, happy 4th of July to everybody. Hope everybody had a safe and happy break. There was a ton of racing going on. Last night was also included in that. Stu Friesen coming away with the win in the Big Show 8, the rain-delayed event at Albany-Saratoga Speedway with the Super Dirt Car Series. Brent Hearn hosting that show at Albany-Saratoga. Billy Decker, boy, did he put a run on him. Chased him down in the last laps, and Stu barely came away with the win there. Good win, the Super Dirt Car Series racing tonight at Mohawk International up in Akwesasne. So good to see Stuart back in victory lane. He joined us here a couple weeks back on episode number 200. So congratulations out to him. Another guy that has been on the show in the past, Matt Shepard. He ran very strong there. He ended up picking up a win at Williams Grove here last week, and he also won the Super Dirt Series stop at Utica Rome. No big surprise there. The Super Dirt Car Series was running in companion with Empire Super Sprints. It was the conclusion of the Central New York Raceway, Central New York Speed Week for Lucas Oil Empire Super Sprints. He won that one. $6,000 came home with him. Before that, it was Tim Fuller winning last Thursday at Canandaigua Motorsports Park while we were on vacation down in Myrtle Beach. The Super Dirt Car Series, again, is in action tonight at Mohawk International. Dave Marcichelli won the Sportsman Companion event last Thursday night at the Jan Corcoran Memorial at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. Let's see, running through some of the Central New York Speed Week stuff. Brewerton Speedway, that win went to Mike Mahaney. Mike Mahaney drove a second Doug Emery car to the win there. 37 cars had registered for that. Chuck Heaving earned the hard charger bonus. He moved 17 spots in the AMA, not too bad there. Matt Tanner picked up his second win in 3 starts from the Tour, went to Canandaigua Motorsports Park. That was the second night. He went wire-to-wire, winning $2,000, and he had to hold off Jason Barney and Steve Poirier. Of course, Poirier, always a force with the Empire Super Sprints. Night 3 was canceled. The Can-Am date was nixed due to rain in the area. Steve Poirier, he finally broke through. He won a ton of races at Fulton Speedway. The stop on night 4 was no surprise. It was his to lose. It was his first win of the Speedweek event. It was 3rd straight at Fulton Speedway. Larry White was a force early. And Sammy Reeks, he was also a good run, but he hit a Uke tire and it shattered. Just absolutely grenade to the front end of that car. So hopefully he's going to be able to get that back together as the series gets ready to pick back up here in the coming weeks. The series wrapped up at Utica Rome Speedway. Jason Barney picking up a win there. Danny Varon had raced up to 3rd and took 2nd. Quick, but he couldn't do anything with him. And Jason Barney coming away with the win in that one. Steve Poirier was right up there in the top 5. Obviously, just so consistent. Chuck Heaving also was a factor in that one. He got a top 5 finish out of that as well. Congratulations out to I got to find the notes on this one here. On Friday, Chuck Bauer coming away with his first win since 2011. Chuck's been a guy who's been running at Brewerton Speedway forever, doing a nice job at staying in the top 5. He'd lead, but then he's also running the track where Matt Shepard calls home on Friday nights, and he's seen some wins slip away and finally breaking through for that win. It was his first one since 2011. He was the 2000 track champion. So, this has certainly been a guy that has been able to show success. He was a regular at Canandaigua for a long time as well. And congratulations in battle with Max McLaughlin and Rob Bellinger to pick up that one at Outlaw Speedway. Ron Cartwright Jr. got his second of the year, holding off Billy Van Pelt and Alan Johnson. Donnie Lawson was up there with Eric Paciello in the top 5. Mike Jackson getting his second in the Crate Sportsman division. Sean Bruce winning again in the IMCAs. It was his 3rd of the year. Laverne Knickerbocker taking his second in the Street Stocks. Chuck Winslow and C.J. Guerreri on his back bumper. Scott Bradley winning in the 4-cylinder division over J.J. Kreidler and Del Cummings. And Jordan Bacon gets his first win ever at Outlaw Speedway, breaking Austin LeBar's streak in the youth division. Spencer had the weekend off. The Sportsman Classic was this weekend. That was actually 4th of July. It was the Sportsman Classic 75-lapper. 30 cars started the feature, and that Sportsman David Grabs won that main event. Coming back to Saturday's stuff at Oswego Speedway, Erik, I'm going to butcher his name. I already know it. I've tried to practice it all weekend. Still didn't make any headway on it. Erik Karlsen won the 75-lap Independence Day Grand Prix at Oswego. It's his first career super-modified win, and now it extends it to, I think, 6 straight races where there's been a different driver in victory lane at Oswego Speedway. Dave Cliff won the small block supers main. He hadn't won all year, but he was the division point leader, and a couple early mishaps let him cycle around to the front. He drove away 35 laps the distance on that one, and he put the car in victory lane at Fulton Speedway. Jimmy Phelps won his second feature of the year. He was 14th and drove right up through. Took about 14 laps for him to get to second place, then battled with Tom Sears, and after 12 laps of fighting, finally cleared him, went on to the main event. And coming back around to Canandaigua, which is where we're going to spend most of our focus over the course of the evening, except for some conversation about a track I didn't even know existed up in Fulton. Canandaigua, Pete Britton got his second win of the year. Matt Shepard was right behind him with Fuller. Also on the back bumper, Justin Harris, Billy Decker, Gil Tegg filling in the top 5. Not too bad for Gil Tegg in that showing as well. Ricky Newton picking up his third Sportsman Division win just ahead of Rob Bussey and James Switting. Shad Holman picking up, I think this was his 5th late model win in 5 starts over Steve Paseric and Frank Guerreri. Those are the only guys that have been regulars in the division. And they are looking like they're going to be transitioning to a weekly offering here pretty soon because they're starting to draw a few more cars. Mark Manutolo winning the combined street stock, pure stock main. Mike Welch second. He was the highest placing street stock. Jason Doty was third place. And winning for the second time in 3 weeks, the 305 division, Erik Karlsen coming away with that win. Congratulations on the win.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Got through all that stuff. Only took 7 minutes. Didn't take as long as I thought it was going to.
Not too bad.
A lot of it's old news anyway, but we gotta go through and do our due diligence, I suppose. But yeah. So the 305s, we talked a little bit as we were setting up the show earlier. Erik, it's your second year in it, and you're driving the fastest cars at Canandaigua, and your lap times are on par with the 360s. So seeing them in the pits as part of the Central New York Speed Week, that's gotta kind of make you think maybe you got to make a change here before too long.
It is. We're thinking about it. We've been pricing some out. I'd like to maybe move up to a 360 someday. It's definitely a lot of fun. Learned a lot in the 305s. It's a great beginner class, and maybe someday you'll see a 360 in the pits.
Yeah. So how did this whole thing come about? You started running quarter midgets for quite some time.
Yeah. So when I was 5 years old, Dad bought me a quarter midget right here in Seneca Falls. The car was pink. I wouldn't sit in it. It was, oh, it's okay. You'll like it. Go for it. So painted it. I sat in it. Drove around the Goulds parking lot. Got some practice, and to Fulton we went. There's a little 20th of a mile quarter midget track up in Fulton, New York. Raced up there for 9 years till I just outdrew the car. Met a lot of great guys. Learned a lot of things up there, and we just had a blast. I
didn't realize that the track was situated at the airport.
It is, yeah. It's right cornered at the on the edge of the property of the Fulton Airport, OCQMC. Tiny little track, but it's fun.
So you go from that, you move into the 305s, which is a spec ed program. We talked a little bit about that. It's not just a case where you're taking some junk motor out of the junkyard. It's more purpose built, a little bit more in line with what they've got in terms of some of the spec offerings. You know, not so much a crate motor, but there's some more spec offerings to sort of keep things a little bit more consistent. You've got all sorts of different options that you can do on your own if you want to go through and spend the money. So how's the transition from that quarter midget program to the 305 been?
Oh, it's been fun. I mean, a quarter midget grew up. They had 20 horse. They were just a Honda old little generator motor. Now we've got 500 horse and a sprint car. So it's definitely a lot different. Sliding doing 110 miles an hour through a corner is a lot different than a little quarter midget, but it's fun. It's really been a lot of fun.
So you're out there running against some guys that have some pretty serious sprint car experience. I mean, we were talking about running with Lee Sanders a little bit, who's come back to the sport. He's got a couple wins this year. The third generation team with the Prestons out there, you're running with those guys, and it's a family that you guys are pretty close to. The 305 community, it seems like they're pretty tight-knit over there, and you've slowly, little by little, the division has started to gain some of their momentum back.
It is. We unfortunately had the bad wreck there with Charlie at the beginning of the year. I continue to hope that he gets better, But yeah, we really are close. I mean, we're a great group of guys. Everybody knows each other. If somebody has a problem, we're more than willing to help each other out. I mean, it's really a great group of guys. It's too bad that we've lost a lot of cars this year, but it's coming back. It's really going to come back. I have a good feeling about it.
So tell me the connection again about how you and the Preston family, there's a lot of intertwining there.
There is. So our family and the Prestons have raced forever. My grandfather owned a couple cars out at Waterloo Speedway back in the day, and
now you're not old enough to have ever seen anything but pictures, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all pictures and memories and stories. You know how that is with racing. But the original Ray Preston drove for my grandfather out at Waterloo, and now, I've raced with John last year, but he's moved up to the 360 this year. But yeah, so, and my little cousin's dating his younger brother, and it's great. I mean, we're really just a really close group of friends.
And then your cousin Ben's driving sportsman cars.
Yep, and cousin Benny's driving a sportsman this year, so racing's really been in our family for a long time.
So what's it like running at Canandaigua? I mean, the track is so big. You go off into turn 3 at, like you said, over 100 miles an hour, and there's just so much room. How tough is it to stay consistent when you're first getting used to that car, when you've got that power to weight ratio that is so uneven in terms of it's definitely lending itself in favor of the power?
Yeah. It's a big, fast track, like you say. I mean, you're going down the bad stretch, and you're driving, and you're like, okay, oh, there's the turn. So you really got to stay focused. You got to really hit your marks. It can get you hurt bad. I mean, as we've seen, we've had some bad wrecks there. But it's a really fun track. It's been really dry, slick this year, so we haven't been able to put a lot of power down in the features. But
do you like that dry slick?
I do. I mean, we've got a setup that seems to be working pretty good. We learned running against, Ruddles, they've got a great setup out there. Sanders, he's another great one on the slick tracks. We're finally starting to get a setup that seems like the car likes. So
right. And in terms of that setup, how long does it take to get to a point where you're comfortable with the car? I mean, the first time you got to drive the car was at Paradise,
yep,
which is a track you never even turned laps on, even with your racing before you got into the full size division. You never turned any laps at Paradise until you got to run the 305 there.
Yeah, we did. We went out there last year, put the car together, and Dad said, "Okay, look at." He started. We went over everything. He goes, aim it straight, and if you got a problem, then stop. But if not, just go out there and get used to it. That's really the big thing with those things, is just getting used to it, having seat time. Seat time is so crucial. Really, anything that you race, the more laps that you can run, that's really the key. So, I mean, Canandaigua, it's nice running there every week, put the laps in and getting comfortable with the car. And once now you're comfortable in the car, now you start trying some different setups. And having the racing experience, it was nice to be able to, you knew how to set up a car. You knew how it felt. And Dad, he raced CSS back in the day, so he still has all that knowledge built up, and that's been huge to – it's been huge.
No, you were telling me that he was with the group that ran ESS at Paradise, and then you took your car there and got to run at Paradise, and it was mind-blowing to think of a full field of 2024 sprint cars running at that track.
It was. There. I found a picture one day. I was going through old pictures, and here's this picture of Dad pulling a wheelie, dragging the tail tank down the front stretch of some racetrack. So I'm like, brought it out. I'm like, hey, where is this? He goes, that's a Paradise. And I'm like, that's incredible. I mean, they used to run a full set of cars out there, and I couldn't picture doing it, but it had to be really fun. It had to be a great show to watch, really. I mean,
and the sportsman car is going to be back there this fall. Going to at least go over and take it in.
Oh, we'll certainly be there watching it. It'll be a really fun show to watch. I'd encourage everybody to go.
You talked about running Canandaigua, and you're there on a weekly basis, and it helps you build that seat time. Have you been able to impart anything to Ben in terms of telling him anything to even try or keep in mind? He's running something that's vastly different with the sportsman car.
Yeah. Everybody thinks a race car, the key is you just put your foot down and go, and I told him, well, you can't. It's all throttle control. That's all the racing is on dirt's throttle control. So we've been able to tell him a couple things, and Dad, he used to run modifieds too, so we've been able to give him some stuff. He's had a lot of guys, like Bruce Ridley's been helping him a lot. He's had some great mentors really helping him out and coaching him. So he's getting good. He is. Right. He's learning every week. That's what it's all about.
So, I mean, having a dad that was in the racing business before you even got closer to the quarter midgets, you got to see a lot of different tracks and things along those lines just from the grandstands. Now that you've got the car, you run in the 305s, you're sort of pinned down in terms of what you can do on a Saturday. There's no particular touring opportunities for you per se. Is there any place that you want to get the opportunity to go? Is there any of that also that you're looking forward to if you do decide to make that transition to the 360?
Yeah, I really touring around. I love Can-Am, big, giant, fast track. I think that'd be really fun. Fulton, I've always liked Fulton. Fulton, cute little track. I'd love to go there. There's a couple tracks definitely on the bucket list. We're going to do some more touring towards the end of this year with the CRSA guys. If they come through, they have a halfway local race, maybe 5 Mile Point or something like that, a Woodhull. But, yeah, certainly it'll be fun to travel around for sure.
Right. I mean, that certainly is a different game. It's great to get the seat time and get the experience with the car and get accustomed to what the car wants to do in terms of having to change your setups. But you go to a track that's foreign, your notebook is completely washed out. Are you kind of keeping your fingers crossed maybe that you go someplace that your dad had the sprint car at first so you can tap into any little bit of inside track help?
Yes, exactly. It'd be really nice for Dad to say, hey, I remember doing this 20 some years ago here. And plus we got some friends with it. Like I said, we're really good friends with Preston's, Kelly Hebing, Joey Tranquil. We're friends with a lot of those guys, and like I said, racing is just a big community, so the people would help you out. They give you a basic setup so you wouldn't be out in left field. I mean, they get you halfway close, so you'd be all right.
As soon as your lap times get close to theirs, does that cell phone just not get answered anymore?
I'll tell you what, it's a friendly competition. We really are. We're all friends. We all hang out outside of racing, but at the track, I mean, it's still friends. You're out on the track, and you have a respect for each other. But of course, we all want to win. I mean, that's what we go there to do. So
right. So, have you had any pinch me moments? You've had this. I don't know. It's almost like this unfair upbringing where you're friends with everybody because your dad being in racing for so long, he knows all of this generation's stars' dads. So, I mean, Matt Shepard on a personal level. You've got to know so many of the Ridleys and stuff, being around all the different iterations of racing. So, do you still have any pinch me moments or anything when you get out and around and meet some of these other guys and get to know them?
It's great, yeah, like I say, knowing all Dad's friends. I mean, Mel Lane, got to know him really well. Eldon Jensen, really grew up with him. He used to help build my tournaments, actually. Right. So it was nice to, all these old big runner drivers. I got to meet Mike McLaughlin one day. That was pretty cool. Kenny Wallace. I mean, it's just, you hang out with these guys, like, they've been doing this for so long, and it's like they're friends with you because they know Dad. So it's really just nice to have a big community of everybody. It's cool to see all these old famous drivers that they're past their prime, but they're still, it's like, hey, that's incredible. It's incredible to just think of everything they've done in their careers.
It's simply a matter of time right now before Max gets his first modified win at Brewerton. Max McLaughlin has just been knocking on the door like crazy. He was hounding Chuck Bauer over the weekend, and he's been hounding the last several winners. His name's been in the conversation. So Max, being Mike's son, certainly inherited some talent there for a modified, and he's doing pretty well.
Certainly.
The 305s, you said you love sprint cars. You're not looking at doing anything else, but at the same time, there's a sportsman car in the garage that mysteriously appeared after you guys sold out of quarter midgets.
There is it. When we sold quarter midgets, all of a sudden, sportsman car, there it was, and it's sitting there. It's a complete roller, but I don't know, just never got it going. Never, I don't know. Modifieds are fun to watch, but I like sprint cars. I like the methanol. There's something about them that they're fun. But someday I might play around in a modified. It'd be nice to try one, just to say I tried it. And hey, maybe I like it, maybe I won't. But I would never say no.
There's nothing quite like having your eyes burn when you're fueling the race car, right?
No, I'll tell you what. Sitting there getting ready to go off, getting pushed off. I mean, people don't understand it till you do it. It burns. You're sitting there and your eyes are just watering like you've never wanted to take your breath so bad, be it not breathe at all because it hurts. This stuff. Methanol is just. If you've never smelled it, I don't know how to describe it to you.
It smells like methanol.
Yes, exactly. It burns so good.
I'm kind of surprised, but then again, at the same time, I'm not surprised given your dad's background that coming up through the quarter midget side of things, not staying with the asphalt side. If it's something that you're hoping to make a career out of, it would seem that the natural progression would instead follow the asphalt track. You'd end up running more at Spencer. You'd end up running, eventually, hopefully, getting to Oswego and getting noticed that way. Has racing always, for you at least, been just a hobby, or was it something that you wanted to pursue?
It definitely, my parents trust big time. I mean, racing's always a hobby. You do it for fun, but it's really hard to make racing a living. So I'm an engineer over at Lisk, and that's stuff main priority is have a job and then pay for the race cars and have fun on the weekends for sure. Mm-hmm. But what made us go to dirt? I don't really know. I mean, grew up on asphalt, racing the quarter midgets. A lot of my buddies like Dalton Doyle and those guys, they're up there. They race limited supers. And what made us go to dirt? Probably Dad. He wanted to go back. He missed it. I mean, asphalt was fun. It really was. I had a blast. I wouldn't trade any of it for the world. But I think Dad wanted to get back deep down inside, and I wouldn't put it past him to get back in your car someday. We've got the spare car, and he keeps looking at the garage sales for a big seat, and I bet you someday I want to see 266s on the track. That'd be ideal. Right. So if I could get that picture someday, that'd be nice.
So you think that's coming soon?
At some point it will happen. I guarantee at some point he'll get tired of pushing me off and watching from the sideline. Will he race full time? Absolutely not. Probably not. He's had his fun, but he'll get back out there sometime. He'll make a joke. I'll say the track slick, and he'd say, "Oh, well, if I was out there, I could show you a couple things."
Right.
So he still has it somewhere down inside.
Now, given that your family said all along it's for fun. You're not making a career of this. Go make your money someplace else. This racing thing is just a hobby. Do you feel any pressure from your dad, given that he's already done the modifies, he's already done the Empire Super Sprints Tour, and now you're out there driving? Is it hard for him to communicate back and forth to you when you should have done this? It's automatic. You should have known to do this. If it was me, is there any pressure? Is there any? You butt heads in the pits at all?
We definitely butt heads. There's a couple times where we will disagree. I think we should do one thing, and he was always a bottom feeder. We joked about him being a bottom feeder, and he was like Lee Sanders. He would always run the bottom, and he was good at it. I'll give Dad a lot of credit. I mean, he was good. He had the bottom figured out. So he'll get nervous if I run the high side, and every time I do it, I don't care how many times I do it, he'll come in and he'll be standing there just shaking his head. But I like to make him proud doing whatever we do. Mm-hmm. I mean, he puts in a ton of time. We both do on the car, but I like to just make him proud and just go out there and get in the win. Seeing him in victory lane, it's always nice to climb out of the car. There's Dad standing there, and it's a really cool feeling. I'd love to get a big win somewhere at some big track for him at a big race.
Right.
It'd be really nice.
Does he is he living vicariously through you a second time?
No, absolutely. There are no two ways about it. He's absolutely living through me.
So, when you guys are working on the car, you were talking about how much time you guys put in together. Do you ever catch him just shaking his head at where technology is now versus where it was? Or is he conversely saying that things are impressively similar to where it was when he was working on the sprint car?
Both ways. He says, a lot of things are similar, but a lot of things are completely different. He's talked about his safety equipment he had back in the day. A foam neck brace and a bucket seat. He said you'd come in and the seat would be bent. They'd corner so hard that the seat would be bent out of shape, and you have to bend it back during the week. It's incredible that he always jokes about the safety equipment back then and how, or the lack of safety equipment, I guess I should say.
Right.
And just technology. All the bypasses and all the fuel system stuff that's a lot different nowadays. It's a lot more high tech now. There's a lot more time and effort and technology that's been put into sprint car racing and just racing in general. So there's still some similarities. The setup's a setup, that's for sure, but there's a lot of things that are a lot more advanced that he definitely says it. Back in my day, things we used to do it this way, and it's like it's interesting to think that, wow, that was amazing that guys used to race like that.
Right. Well, you're talking a little bit about how far the technology has come and how much driver safety is different. Imagine Charlie Donk's accident if it was in your dad's era. It could have been the same outcome, but at the same time, it could have been far, far worse.
Yeah, a perfect example. He used to tell me about Adrian Flath, got injured over at Rolling Wheels Raceway. Right, and I was born. Dad was just getting out, and Adrian, he was a school teacher, college teacher, and it almost killed him. He was in a coma for a while, and wake up, and Dad, he's told me the story a million times. He went to the hospital, and there was Adrian laying there and couldn't hardly say his own name and didn't hardly know who anybody was. And he said you always had to put it in perspective that, hey,
right.
It's a dangerous sport no matter two ways about it. But, the safety equipment, like I say, nowadays it's 1,000 times better than what it used to be. All the Hans devices or next gen like I run, belts are so much better, seats, full containment seats. Cars are just built better. Everything's a whole lot safer. Track safety crews, they've always been amazing, but still they're still out there, and I give those guys a ton of credit too. They saved Charlie's life. There's no two ways about it.
Hard to see out of those cars?
Yeah,
containment seats and
stuff?
stuff?
People don't understand. You sit in a sprint car and you've got a wing off one side and you don't see. You've got a little vision out your front window, and that's about it. You don't see your tires. You're down in a hole.
You had a little bit of that reality check, you said.
Yeah. When the wreck for Charlie's this year, we're out there and all of a sudden, we come to a stop, and
you couldn't see much in that car, but you could see a helicopter.
Yeah. Sitting there in the car, and you hear the helicopter, and you see it circling overhead, and that was an eye-opening experience. Sitting there, just kind of humbling that, hey, that could have been any one of us. It was a racing accident, and could have been any one of us. It could happen to at any time. It's like the poor kid that burned up down at Ceilings Road. It's one of those deals that things like that happen. It makes you realize that they weren't doing anything wrong. They're just in the wrong place, the wrong time, and had some bad luck, and it's a dangerous hobby. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did it make you question it?
No, I'd never get out. It's an addiction. It's like everybody has their own thing that they need to do, and it's addicting. It is.
So, coming back to the technology side of things, we've seen the resurgence of the sportsman class, the introduction of the full-on crate motor that you can't do anything with, and it put a lot more emphasis on the driving side of things. You have to maintain your momentum. You have to keep up your pace in the corners. You have to make sure that you're hitting your marks. It puts a premium on driver ability and setup, and making sure that you can hook up as much power for as much of that lap and do it consistently time and time again. You guys don't have that particular leg of it in place in terms of a crate motor, but you've got spec heads, and then you've got some more opportunities for additional technology outside of that. What's the barometer in terms of spending money and keeping things in check, and then also what's that spec head doing for the division in terms of keeping it affordable, because you can spend money other places?
It's really the Race Saver series. It's a great motor. French he has a great class. It really does. You can certainly spend money. Guys do. They'll spend $20,000 on a motor.
That's crazy.
It is. And
how much are you getting paid to win at Canandaigua?
Right now, $125 to win. And even if we have a full field of cars, it'd be $350. But you don't make money racing. So anybody that tells you you're in a struggle, especially in a more entry level class, and that's what's nice about it. And last year we didn't have the best.
But spending
equipment.
$20,000, you have to win.
I know, but I mean, and you certainly don't have to do it though. That's the nice thing about the class. You can, but you don't need to. There's guys that build their own motors in their garage, go out and run, have $5,000 invested, and still on a slick track you're competitive. Mm-hmm. You don't need to have the best of everything. You don't need titanium. You don't need that stuff. There's different ways that you can make it fast. Setups. I mean, you can make your car fast without spending a ton of money.
It's all full size 360 sprint car components beside the motor.
That's exactly it. I mean, cars are identical. I can put a 360 in it, and that's it. There's no difference.
And you're just marking off calendar squares until you do.
It's getting closer day by day.
But would you rather take the 305 and run more with that with the CRSA tour?
I would. It'd be interesting.
Or would you rather try to get the 360 together to run with those guys?
The problem with CRSA is they're too far east. They're all eastern New York, down south, whereas the 360s, I mean, they're local. All the same tracks. We know a lot of the guys already. It'd be nice. I mean, the nice thing about the 305 is like the Patriots, they have a bonus. If you run a 305, you get an extra money bonus for the first place in 305. So they have incentives to bring a 305 out with the 360s.
Right.
And on a slick track, we could be halfway competitive. I mean, certainly won't be a top 5 car, but we could be a top 10 car.
Canandaigua and the watch, you guys were pretty much the same.
Yeah, really. We it was when they were there Thursday night, and then our Saturday night times were almost identical. 19.7s. I mean, once the track powers off and you can't use 700 horse, it's okay. I mean, we are competitive. So
if you're out there with the 360s, with your 305, and your lap times for the 19.7s, and the track's slick, you got to go where the moisture is. How much guff do you get from your dad or from Lee if you sit down and just run the inside line?
I'll tell you what, Lee and I, we have the joke now of whose line it is first. So whoever gets there, I mean, you got to know where the moisture is. That's what you said. It's all about that. But the bottom, I mean, you won't have the power to outrun them around the top, so you just pull them on the bottom. Use what motor we do have. So we might make the 360 show at Canada before the year's done. So
we've talked a lot about Lucas Oil Empire Super Sprints, but you alluded to the Patriot Sprint Tour, and they've got that bonus for the 305s. Is that something that you guys are starting to, more experience that you got and the more consistent you run, the longer we get into the season without having to do any major repairs or anything like that, you consider making a start or two with them and trying that?
Yeah, certainly. ESS and the Patriots, they're both a great group of guys, perfect organizations. We'll certainly going to make a couple 360 shows, Brewerton, maybe a 5 Mile Point, Woodhull, any of the smaller tracks that, where the power wouldn't be such a big crutch, we'll probably go.
How long does it take in a 360? Well, coming back to the technology, we talked about the motors, but we didn't get into was the tires. How long does a tire last on that? Because you still got that power to rate or power to weight disparity. You're still putting a lot of power down, and as dry slick as the tracks have been here since we haven't had any rain, how fast do you go through a set of tires on the 305s?
All depends on the driver. So if you can keep your foot out of it, we've got the same tires that we started the season with last year. The Canandaigua was really nice. It's hard, it's slick, and we don't burn through tires. I mean, we bought 2 new tires my whole time of racing, and we sold the tires, like I said, that I won last year on, we won this year with. I mean, we'd flip tires. I mean, you can run used tires all day long, compared to a 360, you're going to burn them off. So they have the
Sure.
power, and those guys are on the gas just spinning them, heating them up. Whereas we could do it. I mean, put your foot on the floor, you can burn a set of tires off. But if you're careful, you could definitely maintain a set of tires for minimum 6-7 races.
Wow. That's a huge step in terms of making it an affordable class.
Exactly. That's what's nice about the 305s. You don't need to buy new equipment. You don't need to buy new tires. You can. You're more than welcome to, but we don't.
I can't get over spending $20,000 on a motor to go win $125.
Yeah, no. I mean, how can you justify paying almost $300 for a right rear tire and then buying a new one next week? I don't know. I don't know how guys do it.
Is there a lot of sponsor opportunity with these cars?
There are. I mean, we've got a ton of wing space. I mean, it's a 5x5 board up there, so there really is. I mean, anybody who's interested in sponsoring a car, it's a great sponsorship opportunity. Get your name out there all over the place. Everybody loves sprint cars. I mean, they catch your eye. I mean, it really is.
So, are the guys in that division having luck finding sponsors?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really lucky. I've got a great group of sponsors on board with us. But, yeah, I mean, there's guys. Everybody's at least got a couple sponsors, it seems like. There's nobody that doesn't have any.
Right.
I'm not trying to think of the pits right now. I mean, everybody's got at least a couple. I mean,
Is
somewhere out there, somebody likes a sprint car.
Is your 5x5 space still open?
It is. We've got some more room on the car, but our guys, they're really great. Late Street Station Winery, Shuttleworth Asphalt Sealing, Finderley's Truck and Welding, Kohler Natural Installation, Uncle Mike with his land surveying company. They're really a great group of guys. They support us through everything. If we need something, they're more than willing to help us out. But there's always room for more.
I didn't hear Lisk.
No, this is the building one. They give me the check every couple weeks, so I guess I should say list too.
I suppose. What about the people over at Lisk? Are they think you're crazy? I mean, you're surrounded by a bunch of engineers, so I think there's at least some interest in the technology and how the car works and stuff like that. There's at least a topical interest there. Are they interested in racing the guys that you work with, or do you think you're nuts?
There's a mixture of everything. Some guys are like, why would you drive around in a circle? That's boring. Some guys say, why did you go so fast? You're crazy. Some guys say, why would you want to go get dirty? And other guys, I mean, I've got models of wings on my desk where I always do flow simulations. I'm the nerdy guy. I went to school for engineering, so I'll do all the simulation stuff because I guess if I went to school for it, I might as well use it. Right. So, and some guys are like, hey, what are you doing? I'll be in there on lunch playing with stuff on my laptop, and then they're like, hey, now they're interested in. Right. They don't know what a race car is, but they like the technology side of it. So, hey, can we help you with that? What's this about? And really, there's a lot of guys support me. I mean, every week to walk in, hey, saw your name in the paper. Hey, how to go this week? And it's really that. I don't want to say I have a following, but there's a lot of guys that every Monday morning they check in with me, see how it went.
So the flow simulations, that's basically aerodynamics, right?
Yep.
Talking about how to air. So how long before we see Donnie Schatz driving a Karlsen wing?
I'll tell you what, I may or may not have worked with some sprint car teams some sprint car teams too, some wing manufacturers, and we played with some ideas for my senior project at RIT. We're definitely putting a couple of those things to use this year on the car.
Really?
People may not notice it or not, and in fact, I hope they don't. And if they did, they might want. There's probably some things that people wonder why we're doing it. Like, they're crazy, but hey, I mean, I guess on paper, if it works, I've got to at least try it, right? So.
How many times when you're going through school did your teachers tell you have to do a project that doesn't involve racing now?
Yeah, it was frustrating in the early years. Like, oh, you have to do this, but at the end, it's like, oh, hey, I can do a project on a sprint car. Like, really? Mm-hmm. It was great. So my senior year, every big project we had to do, that's what I did. Yeah. Around racing. I mean, if you're interested in it, it's not work. You're just having fun. So,
did any of the teachers, instructors that you had in school, your senior year or even years before that, give you anything that you could apply to the car that made it better, made it work, or
they definitely gave me some tips to try, some avenues to look down. Some of them worked, some didn't. Right. But the guys who had an interest in it, they'd say, hey, we had this in a completely different realm. Maybe it would work for you. Working with like the Formula team up there, they're all aerodynamics. Baja team, you talk with guys who were interested in it, and you get some ideas from them. It's like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Let me try that. And hey, what do you know? A couple of them actually worked.
That's cool. So, did you go to school for sprint car mechanics, so to say?
No, Mom. No, I didn't go to school for racing.
No,
I went to school for mechanical engineering technology, and a lot of those topics are directly relatable for sure.
Right.
I mean, it's all principles you learn. You can apply it to a race car. You can apply it to a machine. You can apply it to a rocket. You can apply it to the wing of a sprint car. I mean, really, I mean, if you know how to use it, you can put it on whatever you want. So I I guess, yeah, a lot of topics I learned definitely are directly applicable.
So wing is a wing.
Yes, a wing is a wing. They're all the same. Go out there, buy whatever you want. Yes. Yeah.
No, I mean from the rocket to the jet to the race car.
Oh, yeah. An airfoil is an airfoil.
Airfoil.
Yes.
You're far smarter than me, and I already knew that, but point it out every chance you get. How'd the name Wicker Bill ever come about? Do you know?
I don't really know.
Me either.
I know that they're
a big thing.
They're a big thing.
They serve a purpose.
Yeah, they serve a purpose. They serve a purpose. But yeah, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, it's beyond me. So I mean, we've covered a little bit about your dad and his involvement. You know, tell me about what it was like as a kid growing up and getting the chance to see a little bit of it, or at least be around enough to hear the stories about when he was racing, because he spent time in modifieds and sprint cars.
Yeah, it was great. We used to, like I said, Eldon Jensen, he was a great friend of Dad's, a really good friend of mine. We were just getting out of quarter midgets when he got sick with his cancer there, and we were going to run the modified. He was all, so he was more excited, I think, than we were.
Yeah.
And it was great growing up, and we'd go over there and have coffee and donuts every Wednesday night, go over there to Eldon's shop and just hang out, and here I am, a little 8, 9-year-old kid,
right,
hanging out with all these old guys. But talking about racing stories, it was really fun growing up with those guys and hearing all the stories from back in the day and all the crazy things they've done. And it's like, it's incredible. I mean, it really grew up and it's like, I want to do that someday. I don't know how to describe it, but I wouldn't change it for anything. It was so fun.
You, Eldon, your dad, all included in this. Were you guys around to go to the reunion race that they had when they actually had the cars at speed at Waterloo?
No, we didn't see the reunion race. I remember, Dad, we went down there.
And this would have been like 95, 96.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I might have been there and I don't remember it,
right,
but I'm sure Dad and those guys were there. And all the vintage cars, like they had my grandpa's old car. It was at the Hot Rod Show there in Geneva. Classic cruising night. It was there, and I know all the uncles, we were actually down at Dundee Racing, and they sent Dad a picture, and you just tell he's like, it was cool for him to see the old Karlsen car. It's like, hey, you know what? Here we all are out racing, and 6 years ago that thing was out racing.
Right.
So yeah, it's really just cool. I love all that old history of racing.
Do you have to appreciate it to understand where you're at now?
Absolutely, in my opinion. I mean, those guys they paved the way for us today. I mean, tracks that have been around me, Canandaigua, Dundee, Weedsport, I mean, these places have been around forever, and I love just the old history. I'm really disappointed that the mile's gone. I mean, those old tracks like that, I love just the history, and you just stand there on those tracks, and it's like, you think of all the laps that have been turned and all the heartbreaking losses that have happened as somebody passes somebody coming out of 4. It's like I loved just all the history of it. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Did you get the chance to run at Black Rock?
I did. Last year, I've only run there once. I wasn't a real big fan. We got caught up in a wreck, trashed the car, had to carry it in the trailer at the end of the night. Had guys carrying the back end, guys carrying the front end. But perfect example of our class. Guys, I mean, they're all there to help, and here we are. They carry the car in on the hook and set it down, and it's like, well, can you guys help me carry my car in the trailer? So everybody picks it up. We heave it in the trailer, and it's a depressing moment, when you wake up the next day and open your trailer, there's your car sitting there in a heap. But
right,
yeah. So I've ran there once. I'd like to go back. It sounds like guys love it down there this year. Yeah, we'll go back.
A lot of improvements down there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I heard the facility's amazing. So
I was there when the 360s were running on a weekly basis. They only did that 1 or 2 years. George Suprick was awesome to watch down there. Rich Swordhout got a win in the 360s, and Chuck Heaving was breaking in. Brian Howland was regular down there. It was a lot of fun, and it lends itself so well to sprint car racing down there. In any of the iterations that it's been, I was there when it was Black Rock, it was Yates County Speedway, it was Dundee Raceway, Outlaw, all these different names and stuff. But the track configuration, other than what they had on the inside walls, when they had the tall walls back in the early 2000s, that even then the sprint cars could get around there so well, and it lent itself so nicely to sprint car racing.
Yeah, sprint cars, I mean, they're really meant for I shouldn't say meant for, but they shine on the smaller tracks. Where modified, they struggle carrying that corner speed. Where we've got the wing that pushes
the opposite
over
way,
1,000 pounds down. So all that downforce, now you can go fast. So we've got the big motor, and we're light, but we've got the downforce. Mm-hmm. It's a great combination to have when you're a racer trying to go fast. And they put on a great show. They're dicey, and they're just fast. You put the gear right to it, and they're dart. I mean, nothing like a sprint car yanking the front end off the ground going down a straightaway. and short tracks, they lend it to it even more. I mean, when you've got bite, they're fun to race on. They're really fun tracks to race on.
Did you catch the Outlaws show when they were in town?
I did.
Yeah.
I love the Outlaws. Those guys, they're nuts. You truly want to see crazy people. You go out and watch the World of Outlaws show. Those guys are crazy, certifiably crazy.
And Stu Friesen has one with them too.
He is. He's an incredible driver. No matter what you put him in, he wins. But yeah, the Outlaws, they're the pinnacle of racing, in my opinion.
They to watch those cars when they go through the corner and the front wheels are just constantly going left and right. They're not on the ground, but they're turning all over the place. They're going down the back street. It's just blows my mind when I watch him. Mike Mallett, who was a co-host with us when we got this thing started, and he absolutely loves sprint cars, and he works with ESS and works at Utica Rome, and he's had the chance to see a lot of awesome sprint car finishes and a lot of great sprint car races, and he absolutely loves them. I kind of gravitate more towards late models, and I had the chance to work with them in the mid-2000s, and John, who's been on the show before too, he's sort of more towards the modifieds. And Dean Reynolds, who works with ESS, is a modified guy from way back. So the discussion that we've always had back and forth is which one's better, and we come to the conclusion that there isn't one that's better, because you can always make the argument to counter somebody else's claim about the better racing, the better this, the better that. But bringing all that back around, was we were at an Outlaws race at Rolling Wheels, and it was so cold. It was freezing cold. It was in October. And the cars were going so fast on the front stretch that there was contrails coming off the top wing. I mean, it's like, how do you argue with that?
Yeah.
There's no modified that's doing that.
No. We, speaking of vapor trails, Dad and I, another one of those nights we're trying some things. I'm like, hey, we got to try something. So we washed the car up and over at the gas station, or at the car wash. May or may not have been going down the road, and I'm going to say we had a very strong tail or a headwind, so probably wind speed over the car was over 100 miles an hour, and had a vapor trail going down 96A, and I'll tell you what, it was great. You look out the back window of the truck, and there's this vapor trail coming off the wind. Like I say, a modified doesn't do that.
No.
I don't care who you are, that's just cool.
Yeah, there was no comparison to that.
No, not at
all. What are some of the stories that you heard from those guys about your dad that stand out to you? Some of the tracks that he's been to and things along those lines that sort of stick out in your mind that someday you want those stories to be told about you.
All the times up in Canada, those guys, they go up in Canada. Yeah. And he said on his birthday, him and Mel Lane, every time we go to Lane's Yamaha, they talked about the story of Reminisce. They're up there in Canada on his birthday, and they had a caution or something. Mel went in the pits, and there was one more lap of the race. Now all these hot shoes are up in the front. Now starts stretch. They went in the pits, pulled off the track. So they come out, they're all hot, and Malcolm came in and drove right into Dad, I guess, and tipped him over on his birthday, wrapped the wing around the car, and so he goes, he's in there in the car, and then safety crews come up, but they're all French. They didn't speak English, so they're just rambling in French, and he's like, wonder what they're telling me. Well, they're not yelling, so I don't think they're saying fire. So you're just sitting in there like, it's interesting. I love the touring part of it. I mean, the stories they were talking about, Dad and them back in the race modifieds, they were down Orange County or something, real late race in the year, ended up snowing. They got a snowstorm that night. Right. Loaded up in the snow. They're driving back, ran out of fuel in the truck. Said he was four-wheel drive, so he pulled all the race fuel. Him and I forget who it was, pulled the fuel out of the modified, stuck it in the truck, and drove on race gas the whole way home. Because that's the only way they had to get home. It's like 2:30 in the morning. Gas stations are closed. Like that part of racing it's just awesome. People say, "Oh, that doesn't sound like fun," but that's what memories are. I mean, you look back 20 years from now and say, "We did that." Like. We did that. Yeah.
Those hours getting home, you're right. That probably wasn't fun. But
yep.
The fact that you lived it and you can tell that story back, sure. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It does seem that the sprint car guys have more camaraderie than any of the other groups of racing that I've been around. They certainly are more willing to work together. And I don't know if that's the nature of the touring element that's bled over now that the 305s have some home tracks in different places, if that's just bled over, or if it's that the touring guys, obviously that applies because they're with each other all the time. They're going places where they might not know anybody else. But the 305s, the populations are so small that you can't help but get to know everybody. So you start to get to know everybody on the home track level. I don't know what it's tied to, but it does seem to be that the sprint car guys have a much deeper rooted camaraderie than some of the other divisions of racing.
Yeah, I mean, you get close to everybody. You get to know them as a person because sprint car is all about respect. I mean, modified, you can do it and lean on a guy a little bit and be okay. A sprint car, you lean, somebody's going to flip over. Right. If they don't flip over, at least somebody's doing it in the air. I mean, so you learn a sense of respect, even if you don't like the guy. At least everybody knows each other. You got to get along. And I'd say, I don't know what exactly causes it, whether it's the touring or whatever, but
Everybody's got to work Monday.
Exactly. We all work jobs, and nobody wants to see somebody have to put a car back together from scratch, spend thousands of dollars to put it back together where, okay, so you give the guy a couple inches that turn, get him in the next set of corners. It's really, we have a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, you don't want to see a guy have to rebuild a car with his arm in a sling.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's the ultimate.
Yeah,
You don't want
nobody ever wants to hurt anybody. I mean, and a sprint car, it's a whole lot easier to get hurt than any other car. I mean, a modified, you've got an old car around you. Granted, they can flip over, but you've got a lot of things to catch the impact of anybody hitting you. Sprint car, you've got a bumper and they're there. I mean, there's a giant opening on the side of the car. And we're light. I mean, we start flipping and you didn't seriously hurt somebody.
What was it like the first time you went over?
It was, I think Mom got more nervous than I did. I mean, she's a nervous wreck. Every time I go on the track, I feel terrible for her. So, I mean, the first thought through my mind was my mom's got to be flipping out right now. I'm laying there, and it was an easy flip back to the wall and kind of rolled it over. I'm laying there, and truly the first thing I thought was, oh, Mom's going to kill me. Like, she's got to be losing her mind. But, it's an interesting feeling. Flipped over in the quarter midgets, and you're just kind of hang there, and safety crews come over. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Just flip me back over. And I've been lucky. I haven't had a really bad flip in a sprint car yet. I mean, seems like everybody I know has had one. So, I mean, knock down some wood. The time's probably coming here at some point. But
that law of averages thing, right?
You can only get lucky for so long.
Right. You talked about the Lanes and that family. It's another family that you had the chance to get to know a little bit running the quarter midgets.
Yeah, really. I mean,
beyond your dad knowing everybody.
Same things. Yeah, so Dad grew up knowing Malcolm and Keith and Craig and all those guys. And then I love four-wheelers. So I had four-wheelers all growing up, so I'd always be down there at Lanes. And then Craig's kids raced quarter midgets. We got them kind of into it, so we'd go out and race at Payne's when he had his dirt track down during the week and just play around. We had a good time, so you got to know them.
In asphalt cars.
Yeah, in asphalt. Yeah, so deep down inside, they're all dirt guys. Dad's a dirt guy, and Malcolm now he's got a Silver Crown car, and Dad's always loved Silver Crown cars. So I'm sure we'll be palling around down there, and, hanging out with the Silver Crown. Who knows? Maybe we'll get in a Silver Crown car one day. I don't know. Who knows? But racing it. When you've got friends, you tend to do what they do. So,
true.
We'll see.
True. You hit on it. I don't even know how Mel is now, but
he's got to be up there. But it's great. I mean, every time you go down there, there's always a new story that you hadn't heard before. And him and Dad, you can't go down there for less than an hour. So they're always talking. It's great, reminiscing on the old days. Because they had fun. I mean, here it is, 20 some years later, and they still love it like it was yesterday. I mean, when you spend that much time with somebody, you get to know them. They're like family. They really are. It's like family.
So we already hit a little bit on where to from here. It's kind of one of the last questions that we generally ask is where to from here. We talked about you've got the car sitting in the back of the garage. It's a roller. You're looking at the 360s. You're looking at CRSA. You're looking at ESS and Patriot Sprint Tour, and we've sort of established that at some point you want to make a start with those guys, and at Canandaigua, especially if they come there at slick, your lap times are comparable. You also talked a lot about family, and the target is to have fun and just make the memories and continuing to share something with your family and the generations before and all of your dad's friends and stuff like that. So what is the goal at this point? Just to continue to turn laps, to try and do better, and all those fun canned things to say, or is there a target at some point?
I want a tour. I don't know what I want to tour with yet, but we're doing a tour. Bought the big rig this year, upgraded it. Bought a big trailer. I wanted to. We were a pretty basic team last year.
What did your dad say about that?
Yeah, he was pretty supportive. He was just deep down inside. He loves it. I had to talk him into pretty much anything if it's involved with a race car.
How many stories about the open trailers we total over did you get?
He says, his big thing was the light. He made this big giant street light. Guys in the pits, I'm sure they used to laugh at us. This big giant cantilever street light off the back. But to him, when he was racing open trailer, he goes, I used to have a flashlight in my teeth, and he goes, I refuse to have to not have light when I'm in my pits.
Right.
Oh, okay. So, but I want to be able to travel, whether it's with a 360 or it's with a Silver Crown car, that's yet to be determined. But I wanted to. I'd love to do a 4-breast start. That's fun. I want to be able to say I did a 4-breast.
Right.
With who it's with, I don't care. But I want to do it. But and I want to be able to say I ran some of those big classic tracks, Eldora, some of those big giant mile horse tracks out in Ohio. It'd be fun to say that I did it. Right. And what I do it in, I don't know yet. But
doesn't matter.
We'll do it. Whether it's a Silver Crown, let's say, or a 360, we'll do it.
Has Malcolm offered you the keys to his Silver Crown car?
Dad and him. I don't know if I got the keys, but I know we've got a pretty good advisor. So
Oh yeah.
everything he learns, the joke's been more than once about, hey, to bounce set up ideas back and forth. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll definitely gonna hang out with him, see how it goes. I mean, we might not end up liking a Silver Crown car and just go back 360. But
so this is what's gonna happen. You're going to be stuck in the 305. You're not going to have a choice. You're going to have to stay in the 305 because your dad is going to have a Silver Crown car.
So the car the frame that I trashed last year, everybody takes their own frames and throws them out in the woods because they're junk. Well, not Dad. He says that's going to become his car. So he's already joked. I mean, it's only rear clip, and the only difference between a Silver Crown car and a sprint car is an 8-inch longer rear clip. So,
oh boy,
yeah, oh boy is right. So the old yellow frame might end up making a comeback as a Silver Crown car. I would. Time will tell.
Yeah. Are you gonna tow it around an open trailer just for fun?
Oh yeah, as fun as it sounds, I got the trailer and I like having lights, and we'll probably keep her in the enclosed hauler.
I see. Well, I mean, hey, what have we missed? We've bounced around from a lot of different topics. What have we missed? What do you want to hit your sponsors again? I know those guys are going to love it.
Yeah, really. I mean, those guys are great. Like I said, Tony Morrow out there, Finger Lakes Trucking and Welding. He's a great guy. He's known Dad forever, supported us forever. I mean, he's just one of those deals. Same thing with Uncle Mike. I can't thank him enough. I mean, whenever we need something, he's there for us. Shuttleworth Asphalt Ceiling. He's a great guy. He's really provided a lot of support for us. I mean, great to work with. Kohler Natural Insulation. Those guys are great group of guys. I mean, winter's coming up, even summer, need insulation stuff done. Really, look those guys up. They're really a great group of guys to work with. Lake Street Station Winery, if you're in Geneva, check it out. It's a cute little winery right there on the corner. Go over there, have a beer. They're good guys, too.
How'd you get to know those guys?
Stivers. Dad grew up with them, same sort of thing. Everybody knows everybody. I mean, from Romulus, it's a small town, and really everybody grew up, and hey, race car, that's pretty cool. What about it? And then they learn more about it and say, wow, that's really cool. How can I be a part of that? And a lot of people don't really understand how a sponsorship works. I mean, I'm not a guy that asks somebody for money. It's like whatever a sponsor wants to do, hey, that's great. Appreciate you guys being on board with us. And I'd like to think we help them out too. I mean, get them a lot of advertising. I mean, every week, those fans are, no matter where a race car goes, it catches people's attention. So they see a name and, hey, I saw your name on a race car. We drove past Lake Street Station Winery the other night on an open trailer. We were going up to actually Geneva to wash the car. We were going to get an ice cream. And the guys were walking out of the store and looked in and, hey, that's our name where we worked, and hey, look at that. They waved. It's just everybody likes race cars. I mean, no matter, even if you don't know what it is, hey, that looks cool.
Right. So I think Cruising Night's coming up. A friend of mine, James Brown, he drives Demolition Derby cars, which is not anywhere close to what you guys are up to, is coming up. Is the sprint car going to be outside of the winery?
It might be, because Bob Stivers is really involved with it a lot, so it might be down there. You guys just have to come out and see.
How about the Utica, How about the Silver Crown car? Is that going to be there?
I don't know if it'll be there yet. That one might take a little more time to come to fruition, but sprint car will be there.
That's awesome. That's good. You talked a lot about your dad and your brother. You mentioned your mom, and obviously you spend a lot of time with the car. Who else helps with the car?
My buddy Jamie Aldridge, he puts in a ton of time. Really can't thank him enough. I mean, he's in there whenever I need something. Call him up. He's there in 2 minutes. Little cousin Haley, she's there all the time. Really, I mean, she's the organizer. She'll put everything away, runs my stuff out of the car. I'll be getting in the car one night. Oh, forgot my headstock. Oh, forgot my arm restraint. And she's there. I mean, it's really, we have a lot of time. We're always spending time together. But those guys, really, without them, I don't know what to do. We really can't thank them enough for all the help they give me.
That's awesome. I can't believe we burned through close to an hour.
Wow, yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
I certainly this weekend wish you the best.
Thank you.
Keep up the streak.
We're going to try.
Keep doing well. And please keep in touch,
certainly.
Especially as all these different things continue to evolve with your dad getting back towards the car and you getting some different opportunities. Please keep in touch. And by all means, anytime you got anything that's that you want to break some news, doors open. You guys are welcome to come anytime.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
We'll be back someday.
You will be. And next time you're bringing your dad.
All right. Hey, I'll bring him.
I think that'll be a good time. Well, I mean, again, this has been a very entertaining episode. I'm glad you could make it up, and by all means, we wish you the best. We're just about out of time for this edition of the 31st Lap, episode number 203, in the books as we march towards 350, the next big milestone for us. Hopefully we'll be able to hit that probably about this time next year. We'll be working on number 350. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us again. Thanks a lot to Erik making time out of his schedule to come and hang out with us. Congratulations again on the win this weekend at Canandaigua. That is going to do it for this edition of the 31st Lap. We will be back here again next week.